Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Dissent Television. Today we have a very special guest, Tom Trento. Tom Trento is the director of the United West, a not-for-profit educational counterterrorism organization that has four mission objectives. Objective number one, defend the United States Constitution. Objective number two, defend Israel. Okay, objective number three, defeat Mohammad. And number four, of course, is defeat Karl Marx. Tom Trento leads a team of highly talented investigators and analysts to either covertly or overtly expose anti-American, anti-Israel activity, in particular, the coalition of Marxists and Muslim jihadists joining together to destroy America, what we here at Dissent TV call the Red-Green Alliance. Tom leads national security fact-finding missions to Israel, where his group interfaces with the Israeli military, Israeli intelligence, and Israeli law enforcement. He also travels extensively lecturing and exposing Islamic and Marxist infiltration in government, law enforcement, and academic institutions. He is one of the co-authors of the book Sharia, The Threat to America, and appears on media outlets and talk shows as a subject matter expert. Tom is a very highly skilled debater and dynamic public speaker with earned degrees in law enforcement from Ocean County College, theology from the Moody Bible Institute, and philosophy from the Denver Seminary. Tom was also awarded the Carnegie Hero Medal for saving a man from a burning car. God bless you, Tom. Thanks. Welcome to Dissent Television.
All right. I have no dissent with you, Dr. Rich. In fact, you were there at the beginning of starting the United West back when it was the Florida Security Council, 2006, 7, 8. You've been my brother in arms and in the Lord. And for your viewers, they may or may not know, you did a little time, 25 years in the United States Army. How many years was it?
23 years in the Army, yeah.
23 years. And when I was in your home, one of the times I was there, I'm walking down the hallway and I look on the wall and you got these two things from the U.S. Army, Bronze Stars. I said, pretty good. My man Rich with a couple of Bronze Stars. Thank you for your service. I guess it's never going to end fighting bad guys. You fought them with bombs and bullets and jumping out of airplanes. We're fighting them now with our brains and the rule of law here in the United States. Our Israeli brothers and sisters are fighting with bombs and bullets. And it's the same enemy in Israel as it is here. I'll tell your viewers about that. And the same enemy you were fighting, the commies, they joined with the Marxists now, your Red-Green Alliance. Aren't you ever going to get rid of these people and have some quiet time in your life? What the heck is going on? So anyway, here's my message for viewers of Dissent Television. 2024 is the year of the evil jihadi. Each word is very, very important. Going to be a year-long battle of an elevated level. They're jihadis, holy warriors for Islam, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a religious war. Don't kid yourself. If you want to survive a war, understand what the enemy believes about you and why they want to kill you, then you got a better chance than sticking your head in the sand. They view Jews and Christians as the enemy of their book. We killed their prophets. We screwed up the whole religion. God chose Mohammad, the final prophet, and the obligation of Islam is to dominate, not cohabitate or co. You ever see those coexist with the Islamic thing on there? Get rid of that, you lefty screwballs. The Muslim jihadi evil people are going to eat you up in 2024. So that's my warning, Rich, to all America. I'll kind of sketch it out, how it's going to happen. Then you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer it. And then I'll tell folks what we can do to be victorious. Otherwise, we're going to get chewed up. Just like Europe is getting chewed up and other parts of the world where Muslims have been emigrating, leaving their country, and immigrating, coming into what they got 56. There's 56 Muslim countries. Why do all of them want to come here? How many Americans say, I'm going to leave America and go to one of the 56 countries? Islam, and I critique it, and you've been there with me shoulder to shoulder where we've been criticized as Muslim haters and all that. For the dummy out there, the non-thinking individual, someone who isn't concerned about truth, still hard to make that conclusion looking at me or Dr. Rich here. We're Christians. We love people, but we hate evil. And Islam as a system, where in the world does it say I have to accept every screwball philosophical system that exists because that's being nice or sensitive? How about cannibalism? That's a system still in existence in some remote places. How about polygamy? That the Mormons used to do with many, many wives, all of that. These are systems that are antithetical to Western civilization, which is built on the scriptures and the principles coming out of ancient Greek, ancient Rome. And we believe Western civilization, the Judeo-Christian worldview, is superior to all the other isms and systems. That doesn't mean we dominate them. That means we join together with them and share our love of God, of Christ with them. That's the difference. Islam says, we are better than you. We're superior, and we have to crush you. Christianity, Judaism wants to lift people up. Islam wants to press them down. Oppress. The year of 2024 is the year of the evil jihadi. Here's why. They have been frustrated. The Islamic world has been frustrated for many, many years, particularly entering into the 20th century after World War I, where the 600-year caliphate, the Ottoman Empire, people, when they hear Ottoman, they think of the thing you put your feet on in your living room, right? It's an Ottoman. But Ottoman is basically Turkey, the Turkish Empire, the Islamic Empire that ruled for 600 years. And it was broken up in World War I. And then these countries were all chopped up and divided. And Muslims started getting very angry after they lost this superior position of being part of the worldwide caliphate. And they are taught from day one to believe they are the greatest. Islam is the greatest religion. The Muslim is the highest individual on earth. But everything they see in their life, from their educational systems, from their economy, from their military capability, from their medical advancements, from their, the Jews have like 200 of the Nobel Prizes. Muslims have like 2 of the ones that have been given out. So there's an internal contradiction in Islam that says Islam is great, we are the greatest, but in reality, that experience exists nowhere on planet Earth. So instead of Muslims saying, maybe our system is wrong, like I did years ago, the way I was going, I said, that's not the right way to go. I made a change in my life to accept Christ as my Lord and Savior, changed my life radically. Muslims should at least say, Nothing we do works. And the answer isn't kill the people who pointed out to us. They should be saying, look, you're pointing out to us our failed system. Thank you. We'll make some changes. No, they got to dominate and control. Well, October 7th, Dr. Rich Swier changed the world. It certainly changed the Islamic world. The plan originally was what is called a unity jihad. And a unity jihad is the two sides of Islam. The Sunni side, which are the Muslims coming out of Saudi Arabia and 90% of the other countries. About 85, 90% of 1.3 billion Muslims are Sunni Muslims. They believe that when Mohammad died, he gave the authority over to a non-family member, to one of his lieutenants. The Shia said, no, when Mohammed died, it's supposed to go through the bloodline. It should have gone to Ali, his son-in-law, the bloodline, family line. And ever since then, the 7th century, there's been not a disagreement. They slice each other's heads off, unless there's a Jew or Christian in the room. Well, for the past 10, 15 years, the Sunni and Shia, who hate each other, got together and said, you know what? We'll kill you, you'll kill us after we kill the Jews and the Christians. Literally, these are some of their conversations. They said, let's get rid of the Jews first, the little Satan, and then we can gain worldwide momentum and get rid of the United States, the big Satan. They have been planning this. And one of the ways they thought they could succeed, and they may still be able to, is through the use of nuclear weapons, which is why Iran, a Shia state, has been building up for the past 15 years. We've all been fighting it, building up their nuclear capability, enriching uranium, building a delivery system, building a warhead, all of that. They feel if they get that, they can utilize those bombs to implement what they view as apocalyptic calculus. You ready for this? Apocalyptic calculus. 80 million Iranians, 7 million Jews in Israel. So they figure a couple of bombs, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, one or two other places, gone. Israel's gone. We wipe out Israel. Israel will return fire and wipe out, they figure, this is the apocalyptic calculus. Israel will wipe out 20 to 30 million, maybe even 40 million Iranians. Well, at the end of the day, you got 40 million Iranians left and no Jews. Iranians win the apocalyptic calculus battle. This is the way demonic people think, because they firmly believe, and this is why we critique Islam, love the Muslim, hate the Islamic system. They firmly believe that their righteousness before Allah is determined by how effective they could kill the infidel, the Jews and the Christians. I'm asking your viewers, what person in their right mind would build a religion around how effectively you kill the enemy to gain entrance into paradise? That is from the pit of hell, which is why 2024 is a year of the evil jihadi. Now, beginning of 2023, the Muslim key groups in the world, particularly the Middle East, wanted to initiate a unity jihad attack against Israel. Israel's surrounded. You've been there. I've been there many times. On the north, you got Hezbollah, Hezb army, Allah, Hezb army, Allah, army of Allah, Hezbollah on the north, 100,000 fighters, 100,000 plus serious missiles. Over on the east, you got Syria, crazy Assad over there, a lot of weaponry. He's got about 8 million people left. Jordan, you got about 8 million people. They're kind of quiet now because Israel keeps them alive. Egypt is quiet down the bottom. They got 70, 80 million people. And then in Gaza, 2 million people, lunatic Hamas. Virtually the whole country of Gaza are Hamas nicks. They all follow Hamas. Then you got Iraq and Yemen. So you got all these Muslim countries that hate Israel. The plan was to all attack at the same time. Everybody fires their missiles like Hamas did. Can you imagine 2, 3, 4, 500 a day coming in from the north, 1,000 a day? No system in the world can shoot down all those missiles that got to travel 2 minutes from the time they're launched to the time they hit Israel. This past summer, I was there for 5 weeks. I was in a Hezbollah tunnel that went from Israel, which was the exit point, into Lebanon, and we went down 140 feet. Unbelievable. But everybody was supposed to attack at once. Iran would have attacked, everybody would have attacked, and within 3-4 days, Israel would be either their nuclear option, which the world would have got mad at them, or they would have been sufficiently devastated that the army would be in certain areas fighting, but the major cities would be overrun by millions and millions and millions of Muslims pouring in from Afghanistan and Pakistan, as Allah has finally said, this is the moment of the unity to jihad to take out the Jew. That was the plan. Well, the reason why Hezbollah and Iran are pissed at Hamas is because Hamas didn't follow the plan. They have been planning, Hamas, for 2 years to attack southern Israel and then move into northern Israel in a battle formation. And they had lulled the Israelis to sleep. This was not an inside job. I know exactly what's going on. I've been there. I talked to the generals. I talked to the people. Netanyahu didn't know about this. It was a beautifully planned attack, speed, scope, and surprise by Hamas. 2 years in planning, and they did everything right. And they hit Israel on the end of Simchat Torah, which is a week-long celebration where the Jews have a very happy day at the end, which happened to be a Saturday, the Sabbath, of their 1 year of reading through the Torah, and they celebrate 1 year of reading through the Torah. Everybody's on vacation. Nobody's home. Everybody's away. The Simchat Torah came on the Sabbath. So 2 holy days on October 7th. So the Hamas said, nobody's going to be home, man. They're all going to be on vacation. All the army bases will have a skeleton crew. This is the time to go. But then they saw a gift from Allah right on the border in Riem, Kibbutz Riem, and I was a mile away at a picnic this summer. They find out there's going to be a gigantic, hedonistic, Western, sex-fueled, drug-fueled, rock and roll festival of thousands, 3, 4, 5,000 Israelis right on the Gaza border. This is like, a rat, seeing gigantic mountains of cheese to go eat and devour. So they launched early. They launched before telling Iran and Hezbollah. They went off book, and we know the rest. They broke into that. They killed 300 of those people in the rock and roll festival. They kidnapped another 50 or so of them. They killed 1,000 Jews, kidnapped 200 of them, and slaughtered, had the massacre. So what's happened since then is for about 10 seconds, the world had a little bit of lucidity and said, you know what? That was wrong, and Israel's right to respond. And that lasted until the Merkava 4s, the tanks, took off, and the integrated AI technology of Israel, bringing satellite communication, drone communication, naval communication, armored communication, soldier battlefield communication, fusing all together, going through a program, identifying targets, and having the capability to hit multiple targets in the same minute. Once this firepower was unleashed on Gaza, the world goes, wait a minute. I see a dead baby. CNN is holding up a dead baby. Israel has to stop. And now we're in that battle where a good portion of the world is trying to turn Israel back. And Israel saying, the hell with you. We're killing all these bastards and we're going to continue to do it. And too bad. We're not living like this anymore. Now, add to that the Muslim Brotherhood and other anti-American, China's coming in, Chi-Com organizations telling Muslims of the world and communists of the world to unite in this unity jihad against the United States in the streets through protests and through violence if necessary and all this other nonsense. So we here in the United West, or at the United States and the United West, are seeing the ramifications of a unity jihad being applied in America. And I guarantee you, we've already seen it, probably in urban areas in the next couple of months, as Israel intensifies its attack down south and initiates an attack up north, Hezbollah. The Brotherhood, Muslim Brotherhood, and others are going to tell their lions who are protesting with flags and signs to put on a belt, pop off in a crowd, get a truck, run people over, get a knife, start stabbing people. We got to create chaos in the United States so there's a civil war in the streets, and then Islam will be the answer to that problem. Welcome to 2024, folks.
That is first of all, it's revealing. It's secondly very frightening, but third, it's the truth, Tom. That's exactly what's happening. We are literally in World War III right now. We are in World War III because we have an administration that is weak. Weakness creates conflict. And what we have now, as we said, as I mentioned to you before we got on air, there's currently 4 conflicts going on in the world and several potential conflicts. We have a conflict in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. And oh, by the way, we have just south of Ukraine, we have a conflict going on in the Middle East between Israel, but it's not against just Hamas and Hezbollah, it's really against Iran. Because Hezbollah and Hamas are nothing but puppets, proxy armies funded by Iran. Where does Iran get the money? Well, what was the first thing that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. did? The day he was inaugurated, he undid the sanctions against Iran that were put in place by a man named Donald J. Trump. What did that mean? Donald J. Trump limited the amount of oil that Iran could export to 400,000 barrels a day. That barely kept their economy above. In fact, it actually didn't keep the economy above water. They were sinking. Their economy was being destroyed. When Biden lifted that sanction, they now export 3 million barrels of oil a day at $100 a barrel. You do the numbers.
Wow.
That's how they're funding this war. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Iran, we go back to the Iranian Revolution, 1979, and our good friend Jerry Boykin being involved in Eagle One, I think the name of the operation, trying to rescue the how many, well, there 50 something hostages. They've been a problem because of their theology since day one, and they're in a wonderful position because of what you just laid out, and they have a lot of oil, but they also have their eye on the Golden Triangle, which is in the southern third of Saudi Arabia. And the mullahs, the ayatollahs, would love nothing better than to attack Saudi Arabia, defeat them, which they could do, take over Mecca and Medina, thereby elevating the Shia religion to the protectorate of the two holy cities and gaining all the oil reserves in southern Saudi Arabia. And then Iran will then control 56% of the world's oil. And they will tell President Biden, you know what? Do 2 backflips and then roll around and bark like a dog, or we're shutting the oil off tomorrow. And Biden will roll around like a dog. And they're doing that already with them. Iran is using that money to develop a proxy army so they don't have to fight until the great battle of fighting Israel. They're preparing for that.
Let me ask you this question, because you brought up the issue of nuclear weapons. One of my contributors recently posted a column saying that Al-Qaeda is seeking nuclear weapons. We know that an Iranian terrorist was stopped at the Canadian border. We also know that a number of terrorists, Islamic terrorists, were actually detained on our southern border. What we don't know is how many came across. We know some were carrying IEDs, literally carrying IEDs coming across the southern border. When I was in the military, we had something called suitcase bombs, atomic bombs that literally were the size of a suitcase. So here's my thought. What would happen if somebody sneaks in across our open borders, whether it be the Canadian border or southern border, with a suitcase bomb, stands in the middle of New York City on September 11th, 2024, yells Allah Akbar and pushes the button? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, if they hit lower Manhattan, I was there in September and went to the 9/11 memorial, and all your viewers, you got to put that on your bucket list. You got to get to lower Manhattan, do the 5-hour tour of 9/11 and the new Freedom Tower. If they put the bomb right there, right where the base was, they would take out a very significant portion, probably a mile by a mile, making it uninhabitable for years. So it would affect, there's 2 million people living in Manhattan. It would affect probably the lower from Midtown down would not be inhabitable. People would be too frightened with the radioactive active fallout. The U.S. economy would plummet, and tens of thousands of people will die. Now, there could be a reciprocal effect, which would, if we found out it was a Muslim doing it, then the West may wake up and turn against Islamic jihadis, but that's going to be very messy because there's going to be a lot of angry New Yorkers that have guns shooting and killing Muslims indiscriminately, which is completely wrong. That's not the answer. We can't have a breakdown of the rule of law. which is why what you just said, I guarantee, is on the drawing board of a jihadi group somewhere, because they know they'll cause social chaos in America. That's what's going to bring America down, going away from the rule of law. So, we have censors all over the place, and New York has censors and this and that. A quick story on the suitcase bomb. I had a very good friend, a legendary SEAL, and he had to actually do exercises with the suitcase bomb. He was one of the designated carriers of it. They would do exercises with a dummy one. And he said it was stupidest exercises in the world, because where they had to go to put these things, they weren't able to get out before the bomb went off. He goes, we all knew it was a one-way trip, but we were willing to do it for our country. So that was the technology in 1968. Can you imagine the technology today? And it wouldn't be that hard to get a fat boy on a truck, into an urban area. So we got evil.
Yeah,
And
what I'm concerned about, Tom, is this red-green alliance that I talked about and you talked about, and it's actually expanded. It's now a red-green rainbow alliance. The United, I just published, there's a great website called a Newsreel. They have an app and they have a website, and they publish interesting articles about what's going on that impacts the state of Israel. They just published an article about a UK group. It's actually a United Nations group, a women's group, and they actually crowned a pro-Palestinian transgender. Now, explain to me, for example, in Afghanistan, how would they treat a transgender in Afghanistan? Or let's say Iran. What would they do to a transgender if that person was found?
Yeah, Islam has a very rigorous Sharia law against homosexuality of any form, even though many of it practice it privately when women aren't available. But they have very rigorous, and the whole transgender thing is viewed through the Islamic eyes as even a greater aberration of homosexuality in some bizarre way. So in those countries, usually death, in very, very aggressively horrible ways. But the fusion you talk about, the red, the communists, the green, the Muslims joining together, both have a common objective: destruction of United States system, capitalism, the educational system, the free markets, the religious elements. Well, you bring the homosexual community, and not the homosexuals that all of us have in our families that just went off the rails a bit, and they still love the country. They just have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever the case may be. We're not talking about them. They're not in private meetings with Antifa. We're talking about the homosexuals that hate America. Well, they found a fellow traveler in the Muslims that hate America, and they found a fellow traveler in the Chinese that hate America. And I back in 2016, after Trump was elected, in South Florida, I saw an advertisement for an Antifa training in preparation for a protest against Trump at his Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach. So, I'm known fairly well to the Muslim community, not too well to the communist community. So I figured I could pull off my New Jersey truck driver, undercover approach. And I did. I didn't shave for a while. I put my jacket on. I had my Guppolini. And it was November, a little cool. I went to the library, public library, and I sat through a 3-hour communist training session on how to initiate a revolution in America and how these protests are the beginning points. And I mean, they were up there in green, calling each other comrade. They're all 20-year-old snot-nosed kids, right? Calling each other comrade. And then they're talking about Marxist view that you can't get from capitalism to communism without bloody revolution. They're actually laying out academic information that I'm well aware of, saying it's an inevitable. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it's necessary historically. So I go through all the training and I hook up with them a week later, and I'm involved in protesting in front of Donald Trump's house in November of 2016. A little did they know that we had organized that with the police department, and we had undercover people in there and everything. And we have video, and when I put this video out, it's hysterical. But now, and I kind of downplayed and didn't appreciate fully, like Israel did with the Hamas, the seriousness of these kids and the potential lethality. And from 2016 through the George Floyd riots, BLM, to now, these people are trained and they are dangerous and they're willing to destroy. And we're going to see it. And we're not going to see it much in Florida because love them or hate them, DeSantis has done an amazing job keeping Florida safe. We have great sheriffs. We have a hardcore community of don't screw around down here, or Texas, not going to get crazy in Texas. But all the shithole, countries that Trump referred to, cities. We have cities now like that: Chicago, Baltimore, San Francisco, all these cities, Portland. They're gonna be on fire. And even if Trump is president, I hope he becomes president. There's not much a president can do if Baltimore allows people to blow up their city. What is Trump supposed to do? Call in, hey, Rich, we need you guys, one more deployment, get the army here. He can't do that. So the year of the evil jihadi, and the homosexuals have joined them, and all the America haters, Jew haters, Christian haters. We got our hands full, ladies and gentlemen. But let me give a concluding thought, because I gotta get going. You and I can talk for hours. There is hope. There is hope, and the hope is in the historic vitality of the United States Constitution, a document almost 250 years old, had some issues with it, serious issues. But you know what? The system that it grew self-corrected those issues. Maybe took time, but self-corrected them. And we have the longest standing document in the world that provides the most amount of freedom and generosity and benevolence and capital and God-loving and God-fearing. We still have those documents. Sadly, the tens of thousands of people illegally coming in the country couldn't give a damn about those documents. That's going to be something that comes back and bites us in the near future. But the hope for patriots, we have that document. Now we need men and women willing to, and it sounds trite, but they wrote it in that declaration, give up everything we have to defend that for the sake of our families and for the sake of our God. And we have a lot of people like that. So if we bring those two together, a document inspired by God with people committed to God, the God of the Bible, we will prevail in the arguments in the marketplace, and the rule of law is the next element. We've got to support that thin blue line. We've got to be there for our cops. If there's a bad one, we find them and pull them out. We don't throw all the cops out with one bad one. A rule of law, support the cops, strong military, faith in God, faith in our family. We will be victorious in 2024. I love you, Rich.
I love you, Tom. Listen, I want to thank you for being on the show. We want to have you back on and talk about some other things as they progress. And your insights were wonderful. So we're very excited to have you on Dissent Television. You are truly a man of spirit, a man who believes in his faith, his family, and in the freedom that are contained in that U.S. Constitution. God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.